All right, we're live here at the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal.
I'm Treacherous Trista.
We're joined by the fine people here at Spare Parts, which is out now on VOD, DVD, Blu-ray. We have director Andrew Thomas Hunt.
Hey guys,
Hello.
gals.
Michelle Argyris.
Hey everyone.
Emily Alatalo.
Hi.
Kiriana Stanton.
Hey.
Hello. And Chelsea Muirhead.
Hi.
Very good. Now, just so everyone knows, Andy's not going to get mad at us if he leaves in a little bit, but he has something to do. So let everyone know.
I'm actually getting my second dose of the vaccine tonight. So last minute appointment came up. I grabbed it.
Very good.
So there we go.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had mine a couple weeks ago. Everything went fine. So
Your second or your first?
second.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
How did you feel? Did you feel sick at all, or did you have
I didn't at all. No. My arm was slightly sore, but really almost unnoticeable.
Mm-hmm.
But I was
Yeah,
totally
pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, same with
Yeah,
me. I didn't feel anything, no complications. So yeah, it didn't hurt as much as their arms during surgery.
right. Right.
Definitely.
I was there.
They really went all out for the movie. Had surgery and then the reversal surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually saved money in the long run thanks to Canada's health plan.
up in Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah. Free Medicare for all.
Yeah. So, Andrew, how did you? You're director. You didn't write the movie. So how did you get involved in it?
I was at TIFF, I guess about 6 years ago. I'm a partner at Raven Banner. And so, we go to TIFF every year. It's in our own backyard, obviously, here in Toronto. And so some guys came up to me and pitched me a bunch of different films, and Spare Parts was one of them. And I loved the concept and immediately kind of attached myself as director because I was looking for my next project at that time. And the original concept was actually the girls were rock climbers, and then they get captured and drugged and operated on. But after brainstorming, we changed them from rock climbers to a rock band because it just was more fun.
Sexier.
It
still has
sexier.
rock
In it, so it's still connected, right?
Yeah, if anything, it connected even better, you know what I mean? Because we knew that we wanted to have this kind of hybrid genre mashup, and that punk had the right aesthetic for it. And we could start the movie with a bar brawl and a kick-ass song. So it was just, the perfect change for the script.
Yeah. Now we'll go around here and see everyone get involved. Michelle, how did you get involved in the movie?
Yeah. So first of all, it's kind of cool seeing all of us. The four of us have not been like together in one room, even though it's virtual. So hi everybody, Kiriana, Chelsea. So mine was interesting because I was actually on a children's show for a year and a half. And, I love doing children's networks, but I was aching for something raw, something gritty. And when Spare Parts kind of came along, I was just like, I'm so fucking ready for this right now. This is what I need in my life. And I had just finished with that show at the time, and, had a call back with Andrew. We had to do it over, what is it, like maybe Zoom or something like that.
It was Skype at that time, yeah.
Yeah, Skype. And it felt like the right character, right role at the right time. And so we jumped on board.
Kiriana, how did you get involved?
Oh gosh. Well, pretty much just this straight up audition, but I do have a funny story about that. When I got the call for the callback and I showed up to the callback and I was talking to all the girls in the room, I realized that it was like chemistry reads, and I was the only person there auditioning for Cassy. And I did the chemistry read with one of the Jills, and I was like, do you want me to stick around? Because you're doing chemistry reads and there's nobody else here. And they were like, no, it's okay, you can go. I was like, okay. And then I went back downstairs and I stayed for 2 hours. And they were like, actually, you want to come up and read with the next person? I was like, yeah, totally. Came up.
And then that was me.
Person. I think you were like the third person maybe. Yeah. And then I ended up reading with Chelsea, who ended up booking. I was like, okay, cool. She's the only one who gave me like anger, which is like great to work with, right?
Yeah.
Especially for a punk fan thing. So I'm glad I stayed long enough, and then I ended up being in the room with Chelsea, who ended up booking it. And I was like, this is hell yeah. So I just hung around for like 2 hours.
And it was such a wonderful experience too, because I remember when we went up and went into the room and we played the scene at first, and it was like in the office, and there was like couches and stuff sprawled around, lying down on the ground, and we did this scene. At the time, like dogs come out of the garage and are about to attack us and stuff. It changed a lot since then. But then Andrew was like, you guys are engaged, you guys like love each other. We're like, okay. And I just looked at Kiriana, I was like, can I hug you? And she's just like, fuck yeah. And then it felt like forever. It was like maybe 2 minutes. We just like breathed in each other and just like looked at each other and stepped into our places and just like did it. And then we also had to do some like shadow boxing and stuff. But yeah, but it was really nice having you with me. And then we ended up doing it together. And that wouldn't have happened if you didn't stay. So obviously that was a blessing for sure. So.
And neither of you knew each other beforehand?
No.
None of us knew each other at all. And actually Emily, I remember Emily was there in my callback as well. And she was reading and doing a chemistry test with another girl that was cast as Michelle's character. And then it ended up getting recast with Michelle. But I remember you were so Emily little being like so focused. And I remember just dee and just like trying to be like, hi everyone, hi. And everyone was so focused. But I remember Emily was also there in my audition as well. Yeah. So
Emily, do you have a story about the audition?
I do, yeah. So I had randomly gone onto Casting Workbook, which is what we use as a casting site, but normally it's just our agents that go on. I'm sorry, I just got Invisalign today.
I was like,
listening, and
so adorable.
that's Emily. I took them off, but I have brackets because my teeth are so mangled. So I have brackets on every and so they're very sharp. I'm really sorry.
It's okay, Bean.
So I'll be like this for the next year. Yeah. So I went onto this site, which I normally never do. I didn't even really know that you could go on to see what was auditioning, because your agent normally takes care of everything. So I went onto the site and saw this breakdown, and I was like, this is the most amazing concept in the world. Like, please sign me up, sign me up. And they were looking for people who had stunt experience, which I do. And I'm like always looking for an excuse to feel badass. And so I messaged my agent about it, and he was like, no, you're not doing that. And I was like, please, 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 please. I really, really want to. Just let me audition. I was so excited about it. And then in the audition process, I remember I was waiting outside, but it was like this really cool building, and there were like long glass hallways. And where I was waiting, I could see the girl in front of me, and she was doing her shadow boxing portion. I'm sure she's a lovely gal and very sweet, but she looked so uncoordinated. And I was just like, I got this in the bag. I remember going in just feeling so good and so ready, because it's so rare that we get to do that. And normally you're feeling really intimidated, and I was so excited. And I loved the whole process. I love that we did chemistry reads. It was really cool. I think Andrew, you had Willa in the audition.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh yeah, he did for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's always with me. It's funny because Emily is the only one of the four that I had met prior. She had been in a couple films that Raven Banner had released. And so she came in, and I was like, hey, hi, Emily. And she was just like, yeah, hi. Because she was so focused on the character that like she didn't want to break it. And I was like, oh, what a bitch. But then when she did her audition, she was like, hey, hi, how are you? But like, she was like so focused and intense coming in, which I dug. Yeah. And I didn't think you were a bitch, Emily. I do now, but I didn't then.
Yeah.
Emily mentioned having stunt background, and I saw Kiriana does too. Does everyone have some stunt background?
No, not at all. Actually,
after Spare Parts, because we did a month of training after this movie. That's when I started doing boxing, and I actually joined a dojo, and I've started doing karate. I get to test for my yellow belt soon. I'm very excited. Thanks. Yeah, so I learned my first 2 katas, but before this movie, I have only dreamed of doing stunts, and I loved it so much. So now I'm like getting a little bit more into it, but at the time, no.
Yeah, I came into this having 6 years plus of like fight experience, weapons training, sword fighting. I used to be an ex-competitive martial artist, just kind of all around, especially for film. I've done stunts on and off, a lot of my own stuff. So came into this being like, I can kick ass, so let me please, thanks. So that was really fun. And the stunt team was absolutely lovely to work with. And I ended up, one of the guys I ended up killing in the film is actually a close friend of mine that I'd met in fight class before. So we got to work together a bunch, which was a lot of fun on set to just like know the people that I'm beating up.
So yeah, for me, I did like one stunt role on Shadowhunters where I was this like evil fairy and I was killing off like the vampires and the werewolves and everything in like one scene. So that was kind of my only on camera fight scene. But since I was a little girl, like I did gymnastics and I, competed nationally and did cheerleading and stuff. So I always was using my body and my physicality for a lot of different roles, including the children's program, which we had to do like circus tricks that I had to learn how to do this, like the silks and, all sorts of stuff. So I feel like all that previous training helped me be able to pick up the choreography quickly and kind of just dive right in.
By the way, Terrible Troy is here with us as well.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Hi. Fantastic. How are you, Troy?
I'm great, thank you.
It looks like he's
Okay,
stuck
good.
in someone's basement.
His
I
own-
hope you're
They
okay,
have me
Troy.
trapped.
Were you kidnapped? Were you drugged? Are you
I-
okay? Blink 3
I'm
times.
safe. I'm safe.
Okay.
Be
good,
careful what you
good.
say, Troy.
I know.
They're behind you.
For Andrew, where did you find a place to film the arena? Because it looks amazing, and you also take advantage of it with a lot of great overhead shots.
Yeah, so this film was funded largely through a regional incentive in Northern Ontario. So we actually went up to Sudbury, which is about 3 hours north of Toronto, and found this amazing recycling facility where they actually like recycle cars and cans and trains and buses and ambulances. And it was just like this insane, messy junkyard. And that's exactly what you see on film. And originally we were going to build the arena inside one of their facilities because like the facilities they have, they're like cavernous. But about maybe a month or two before we were to shoot, they said we couldn't have that room anymore, that they were using it to store PCBs or something like that. But they said, oh, but we have this auto wrecking yard like north of our plant. You can have that. And so we went there, and that's exactly where we built the arena. So we built it outside. We just picked up the cars from around us and built this arena on top of each other, and took out the dirt that was there as best we could to clean it up, and brought in like sand to create like a level of protection for the girls and the stunt team. And so that was probably the most challenging part of the film, was shooting this thing outdoors at night in October up in Northern Ontario in a place
It snowed
where,
one day. It snowed one day.
yeah, like the weather could literally change within 5 minutes. I remember one night we were shooting and we had Julian up on the dais, and suddenly this massive rain and thunderstorm came in, and we had to like pull everything down and get everyone out, and we lost half a day of shooting. But the girls were shooting in a lot of rain and snow.
It added to our discomfort.
Does it add something?
Character. Yeah. I remember, Andrew, you were doing like one of the scene where you had the drone and you were trying to get us, and you're like, girls, walk like at the same time. And my feet were so cold that I couldn't feel my toes anymore. So I think I was off. Like all the girls were thinking, I'm like, I think my foot's hitting the ground, but I'm not sure. And then you're like, Michelle, like in sync, I'm like, I can't feel my toes. I'm like, can we have a minute? And you're like, yeah, okay, go. And then we changed our socks. So we had to warm up our feet so we could continue doing that drone shot. So yeah, I mean, we it was great though, because that discomfort, to my earlier point, really helped us get uncomfortable. And obviously the characters we played were not in a very comfortable environment or space. So
It was obviously a very physical movie, and then you had on top of it the elements. Was there any injuries or anything like that on film?
I don't think so. Did we have a single
Think so.
injury?
No,
Just
not that I could
scrapes.
think of.
Scrapes
Yeah, and I
bruises, the
remember
casual stuff.
the first day that, I mean, Michelle really got the brunt of it. I remember when you were doing your scene the first time that we were wearing our prosthetic weapons, and you came back and you were like,
Ow.
fuck guys, we need to pad the insides, because you were getting like bruised and cuts on the inside of your arm from like smashing and doing things. And then we discovered after that maybe we should pad the inside of those aluminum tubes or whatever they were made of at the time, the pipes.
were
But yeah, other
heavy.
than
they were heavy.
and heavy
they were
than
heavy.
expected,
Heavy.
but
It was very like sometimes we just wanted to like use our other hand to help us do the move.
Right.
So like we could make it look cool without it, but as soon as we put it on, it was like, "Ugh," and we wanted to look like
Yeah.
badass while doing it and not like, you know. So yeah, those things are heavy. But you're right. I totally forgot about that. That was at the beginning.
yeah.
And so you fixed that right away. We got the pads in there and
The
stuff.
biggest
And-
thing was just the sand. The sand got everywhere.
Oh.
Every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, and pools of water in the sand, and like, you know, the cables for the lights running through it. It was dirty and
I got
wet.
to make out
and-
with Ryan Allen in that sand. Okay, it was
Hey.
not so bad. It was pretty spicy, if you ask me.
I just sobbed over Chelsea.
Yeah,
Oh, I feel
that's true.
I
Yeah.
think I did also hit James Eddie's hand. Not I think, I know I did. I'm just really embarrassed. I did. I closed my eyes on our first take when I have to like swing my arm and hit him, and then he blocks it. And it's like the number one rule, keep eye contact. And like as I was swinging, there was like sand falling and everything, and I closed my eyes and hit his knuckles, and he was bleeding pretty good, but he didn't say anything. He just kind of kept going, but I saw like blood dripping down his hand. But he's pretty badass.
Sorry to
Those
laugh.
guys were real pros. I mean, like we did a lot of our stunts, but some of the really, really difficult moves. I mean, that stunt team came in and they kicked some ass for us. So props
They
to
were-
if
they
you
were
guys are
so
listening.
great.
Thank you for
They were
being there for us. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. We needed the stunt players, not because, you know, obviously we didn't want you girls to get hurt, but we had an 18-day shooting schedule, and so if one of the girls got hurt doing their own stunt, like we can't stop, we can't pause, we can't reschedule. Like we had a finite 18 days to get this entire film. 6 of those we used for the stunts, like for the fight scenes. So yeah, that's why we had to make sure that we had great stunt players to help the girls out in that regard. So
Trista, do you have a question?
I'd love to know if you guys are horror fans yourselves, and if you are, what are some of your favorite films?
Ooh.
Ooh.
I'm a bit of a chicken, to be honest. I'm a bit of a chicken. I do love watching a scary movie though and getting spooked. I just watched the new zombie one, Zack
of the
Snyder, the Army of the Dead. Yeah. And at first, like I watched the first 20 minutes and turned it off because I was like, oh dear. And then I was maybe I should give it another shot. And then I was in, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it was like super fun. It was super, super fun.
I'll echo Emily a little bit. I feel I get like horror genre scares me to watch because then I will have nightmares and I will have continuous nightmares. But I love shooting horror, and it's a very therapeutic experience for me. I mean, I don't know about you girls, but it's like all that crap and that shit that's going on in your life, you take it, you can harness it into your character and just spew it right out. And that's kind of like a perfect genre to be able to do that with. So
Yeah, I find that there's a very fine line between horror and thriller. And you'd think that gore would mean horror, but there's plenty of really gory thrillers. And for me, I lean more towards the hardcore thriller side than the horror side, at least as an audience. As an actor, I love the straight up horror, but I really, really, really loved Mike Flanagan's Hill House. I gotta say, like, it's one of my favorite things in that genre that I've ever seen, and like how deeply emotional it was able to get with the concepts of grief and loss, and also making it scary and having these supernatural elements. But it really, the more that the horror is about the characters and their story, the more I'm gonna like it personally.
Yeah. And I think on that note, I wasn't a horror fan until I started doing film. And now, like, I love all genres, but I watch The Babadook. And like, you don't really see this monster, this ghost very often. And like, that was so effective in the storytelling. And it was more about the characters. And again, like the story that you're referencing, Kiriana, as well, about like mourning and loss. And that was kind of the movie that flipped me into like that kind of horror movie where it's more psychological and like more story driven as well. It's not necessarily about a beast or a scare or something popping out. And as an actor watching that as well, this kid, my God, this like 7-year-old kid, he can fucking act. And I was like, wowee, all right, boy, I see you. But that was one of the movies that I really, really like. Also The Orphan as well. Because that girl, something about, it's gonna sound weird, something about kids
I agree.
acting and like so, because they're just
Creepy
so creepy, and I'm like, how are you so good at what you're doing? Can I be that good of an actor? Thanks.
That was amazing, and I loved the series. I did enjoy that. That was very psychological, and there was a scene where Norman came down and he became his mom, and he no longer could tell the difference between being him or being his mom. Like he took her persona on, and he literally was wearing her coat in the kitchen, and he had all of Norma's mannerisms, and it was the creepiest thing I have ever seen. And it didn't. And what it was fully psychological, which was cool.
Right. And what an extraordinary acting challenge as well, to have something so just like kind of what we tried to do in this movie, like really throw spaghetti against a wall and like have it turn into freaking snakes, like, and make that believable, make that real. Like that's kind of like I feel like what we tried to do. You know?
How about Andrew yourself? Are you a horror movie fan?
Well, I wouldn't be a partner at Raven Banner if I wasn't. You know, I grew up on that. Cronenberg was my first major influence. The fact that he's from Toronto and was doing these great, just unique, challenging, left of center horror movies. Like Videodrome is still one of my favorite films to this day. You know, I loved, of course, Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, the early films of Peter Jackson, all the trauma stuff, Toxic Avenger, all that stuff, you know, because I was a teenager and I loved the stuff that was visceral. Rosemary's Baby is still one of my
Rosemary's Baby, sure. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Mia. So I do, you know, I kind of find that at this point, I kind of feel like I've seen it all, and it's hard for me to see a film and for it to have an impact on me that it used to have. But I'd say that one of the last films that I saw that really kind of had me on the edge of my seat was Autopsy of Jane Doe. I really dug that one. Yeah.
And that one, it really, you didn't know where it was going, which really kept you into the movie.
Yeah. No, Andre did a phenomenal job with that. So, yeah.
If you guys could tell us one horror movie that we absolutely have to see, what would you recommend?
Oh, that's a big question.
That's a toughie.
You guys are the experts. I need to know.
I'm trying to think of something that that you would probably like. I really have to think about this, but yeah.
I'd say Videodrome. If you've never seen David Cronenberg's Videodrome, you have to watch it because it's not only shot in Toronto but set in Toronto. It's based on what city TV used to be like back in the 70s. So James Woods is playing Moses Zeimner. Basically, I don't know if you girls know who he is or remember who he is, but
I'm keep nodding my head as if I do.
All right.
Smile and nod.
But anyways, it was made in 1983.
I read it many times as a kid.
Unless we're born yet, Andrew.
Videodrome?
Videodrome. Drone.
I think that's kind of a weird movie to go into if you're not necessarily.
Fuck it, man. Fuck it. They got to see it.
I mean, if I think I would say Creep Show because that's a movie I like since I was a kid, and it's very fun. It's got a good combination of it's fun, good short stories.
Great actors in that one.
Yeah, great
I
actors.
missed what you said. Did you say
Creep Show. Creep
Freak
Show. The
Show.
original Creep Show. Yeah.
Okay.
Did
Bean,
you
are
go
you-
see?
Be-
Don't
Write
watch
that
Creep
down
Show
right
too.
now.
I'm writing it
Bean,
down.
you
100.
writing it down? Okay. Yeah.
Am
I
I
was
right?
going to, but I was like, Bean is gonna. Yeah.
I have sticky notes and things.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, guys, I
Really
gotta jump out. I gotta jump out in like 2
Oh,
minutes.
All right. I have a question actually from the chat for you real quick then. Andrew
Okay.
Buckner, he watched Spare Parts Tuesday night. It was great fun. And he really enjoyed the 80s, 90s vibe of the film. Not really a question, but I wanted to ask about that, about the lighting of the film, because to me that really adds kind of that feel to the movie.
Yeah, again, going back to the whole punk thing, you know, we knew that we wanted it to be kind of bright, colorful, while in this kind of dark, gloomy environment, because we see a lot of these kind of post-apocalyptic films. And although this isn't a post-apocalyptic world, it has that feeling. It is kind of modern, but it's not quite like, you don't know the time and place necessarily and where it is. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we brought some kind of color and vibrancy to this dark and what's the word I'm looking for? Gloomy. I couldn't think of the damn word. This dark and gloomy world, you know? Just because you don't get to see that a lot in this kind of style of film. So yeah, that was important to us. And so we actually, Pasha, the DOP, and I, we kind of picked out which kind of colors we wanted to have featured in each battle. So yeah, it was fun.
Cool. All right. We will let you go then. But thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and
Have fun with the rest of the interview.
Have a good shot.
Thank you.
Have a good
See you
yeah.
guys.
That's a weird thing to say, but it's fitting.
Happy vaccine.
Happy vaccine? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys mentioned that being kind of uncomfortable added to it. How about just being on the set, this big immense, place? What's that like when you first get on there, get into the arena?
Exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
it looked amazing in real life, never mind on camera. I mean, all of us were like giddy and giggling and looking at it, and we're like, yay, we get to play here for the next like 12 days. At least that's how I felt. What about you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. And like even just shooting at nighttime too. So we were sleeping during the day and then like waking up at like 7 o'clock at night and starting your day that way. And it really just helped you get in that world. Like I really felt like we were up partying all night, and then you'd wake up and you like felt like a real rock star. It was cool.
Yeah, the arena
Yeah.
was pretty insane to see in person. Like what you see as a moviegoer, you would look at that and see, oh yeah, that's CGI. Like it's really good CGI, but it wasn't. Like the entire arena was physically built. Like every single car was actually there. So we walked in on day one and we were like, oh shit, this is real. Like this is a massive thing that they built for us, which is just this crazy kind of cognitive dissonance to go, wow. It was just massive. And the lights, all of that lighting was there in person. All of it was actually there. And it was just this impressive feat of creativity and engineering, and the amount of work that went into that. I gotta shout out the crew and the creative designers, and the work that they were able to accomplish was absolutely awe-inspiring. To actually physically be in an arena, like how often do you get that nowadays with modern CGI? How often do you get to look around and go, I am in an arena made out of cars? Like, that is incredible.
The audience was
Yes, the audience wasn't there.
they were blow-up dolls.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were never there at the same time as any of the crowd or the Emperor.
So funny.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
That's right. Yeah, Julian, we didn't have Julian like speaking. We had to like look at a stick in the dark.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
here, ladies, right here. And we're like, oh no.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
Michelle, you had a great scene with the Emperor, though. You're
The dinner. Oh yeah.
The dinner.
No, thank you for saying that. I think I remember speaking with Chelsea and Emily, and we were prepping for it. And it was just a moment in life where I felt angry with my own personal problems, and I was ready to just spew it. And Julian Richings is so generous with his acting too. It's easy to just respond to him. He scared the fuck out of me in real life. Like, so as he was doing it, I knew I had to protect my girls, but he scared me. So those like maybe tears or whatever in that scene, they were all coming from a very guttural place for me. And I remember as soon as that scene finished, I looked at Emily and Chelsea and I was just like, they came and I think we gave each other a hug and they're like, it's okay, Mish, like let it out. It was just, yeah, it was one of those moments. So I thanks for bringing that up with that scene.
No, it really is a great scene. Like you guys were saying earlier, if you don't, if you're not connected to the characters and don't feel something for the characters, in other movies, you can watch it and it'll be fun to see, but adding something that connects you to the characters makes it a much more impactful movie.
Absolutely. And a generous, co-star that's across from you is the best thing in the world, because then you can both let go and just listen to each other and exist, so.
We had Julian on the show last year. He's a really cool guest too, but a fan of his work.
He's amazing. He's so well spoken and he's so kind and so cool and so effortless. But like we were just on another podcast with him and I was like, this man is amazing. Like, where is he from? He's incredible. And super talented. He has it all. He's really cool. He's my one hall pass.
I gotta say, it's fun to walk into conversations and be like, oh, like talking about acting. It's like, yeah, I got to stab death in the face with a fork.
Oh yeah.
That's definitely a fun thing to say now.
You stabbed him in the face with a fork.
Oh yeah.
I remember that. That's right. Amazing.
Yeah, you were having your like emotional moment. I was busy getting choked out in the corner.
You mentioned earlier about having background in stunts and fighting. How about for the musical parts? Did any of you have any background in a band playing instruments?
Kiriana.
Yeah, I have a little bit on and off. I used to play in like school, right? And I actually have a really good friend. I got to shout out the band Till Howell. I'm really close friends with the lead singer, guitarist, and the drummer. And when I booked this, I messaged them and I was like, hey, you want to help me like brush up on the drums? Because it's been like 5-6 years since I played them. And the drummer from the band ended up meeting up with me a couple of times and we just like started working it and he taught me the song and I was able to brush up on my skills enough that it was like passable. And he was super lovely about it and so helpful. And I gotta just say they're the raddest band. Listen to their stuff on Spotify. They're fantastic. Would love to work with them again. But we actually rented a studio, all four of us. We rented a studio when we all booked it and we just like practiced.
Really?
Yeah.
That was really fun. In Kensington, we all just like rented a bunch of guitars and a drum set, rented a studio, and then we just like vibed for a night, which was really fun.
It came off like, like this is a real band, because we've all seen movies where we've seen people playing, instruments, whatever, and you can tell like they don't know, they've never really done it before. You might overlook it or whatever, but this seemed, genuine.
It was
Yeah.
it's not true because I don't have any experience. Well, that's not true. I played the flute in grade 6.
Hey.
It's a great instrument for a punk band.
Thank you. But I did take lessons. I took guitar lessons for this, and I learned how to play the song. But then on the day of shooting, we don't even have the song playing, or it was playing at random times, and they're editing it. So even if I was playing the proper chords and stuff, they edit it to a different part of the song. So it made me really rethink all the other movies when you see people playing guitar, and you're like, that's not the right. But it might just be the way
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even
And
people
personally,
dancing to music, and it might not be it, right? What's that?
Yeah.
And
That's-
all
I never really thought of that either.
That entire scene where we're playing the instruments and I'm playing the drums, like I was actually
Yeah.
playing the drums, like I was sweating.
Kiriana, you killed that. That
Thank
was
you.
Yeah.
I was very impressed.
So good.
Somehow managed to lose one of my drumsticks that night.
Oh, really?
Never
That
found it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And like I
Go on eBay.
really commend you on that too. Like, yeah, we were kind of miming. I was miming the bass. But Emily, like you're miming like a little bit, but like figured out how to play every time. Kiriana was really playing those beats every time. And in the beginning, Jill was supposed to be the drummer, and I was like, I don't know how to play the drums. So no, and then they gave me the bass instead, and they were like, "Oh, sick, Kiriana, you know how to play the drums? It's cool. Yeah, I give you that one." And like, so Kiriana, every time you see her playing, that she really figured out where she was in the song and like really did it. And like, I don't know if y'all play drums. It's very difficult. It's very hard. So Good for you,
I
babes.
remember Andrew would
Really.
send us videos of Kiriana playing the drums because he was so excited at how good she was getting.
Yeah.
Before shooting, and he would like send us videos like, look how good she is. She's like, oh yeah, this, and he was like really stoked about how great.
I
he
had
was.
no idea he was sending those to you guys.
It was great.
Yeah, maybe this
Yeah,
is something you
huge,
can continue in the future. Drumming.
Yeah, a huge shout out to Wade McNeil, who was so badass with helping us just put everything together, and for me with my vocals, because I can't sing at all. And on my kids show, I had to sing these like Disney songs. So when I got there, I looked at Wade, I was intimidated. He's like, has his big beard and his like raspy voice. And I was like, oh man, this is good. And he's like, okay, go. And I'm like, Miss 40. He's like, oh girl, hell no. He's like, that is not how this works. He's like, take that pretty thing and, you know, chuck it out the window and let's start again. He's like, from here and just bleh. I'm like, okay, amazing. And then it just was spewing out blah, 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 Miss 40, like getting into it. And again, super therapeutic. I honestly considered getting into it after the movie. But he did amazing. He was super helpful. And it sounds good. It doesn't sound bad. So
the soundtrack of this movie is absolutely mind-blowing. Like, it's probably my favorite part is the soundtrack that came after this. And I want it on Spotify. I'm like, when are they going to release the album? Because like, I want to listen to music all of the time. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Chelsea, did you have any memories of doing the music scene?
In the band?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so many. There was just like so many behind the scenes moments that like come to mind right now when we had oh my gosh, it's all coming back now. I invited one of my best friends, Patrick. Patrick, if you're watching, hi honey. I invited him to set because Andrew was like, we need some extras and stuff to play the audience. And somehow he got himself, and he's not an actor, he's a firefighter. He got himself in the front row center watching us in the band, and he was there like the entire day. But I just remember us just like vibing and just like rapping Eminem between takes and like resetting the lights and just like really trying to be like freaking rock stars and headbanging. And we had not a full audience, but we had people in front of us to play off of. And I used to do a lot of live theater, so having actually getting to play to an audience when we were just pretending to be rock stars, that's one of the first things that comes to mind in that particular scene for me, is the behind the scenes. And then the in-between moments, like I really enjoyed just like us and the little family that we became, you know. So yeah.
Did you all stay in touch after the movie? I know you're doing like, you know, interviews and stuff, but
yeah.
I was asked too about the festival run, because you did festivals, but festivals were different this year. You know, they were virtual. So I don't know if you got to see the movie in like an actual audience.
We did.
I didn't. I disappeared because I unfortunately my appendix ruptured and I was poisoned for over a month and I got very sick. So I unfortunately kind of just disappeared through all of 2019 because I was very ill. So I'm cool now, but yeah, no, I've been gone. Unfortunately. So I didn't get to make it to the screening either.
Yeah, we missed you at the screening.
But
cool. It's fun seeing it on this massive screen, sitting beside each other and like seeing all that hard work in an hour and a half. Like,
I hope they do another one once the pandemic is like officially ended. I hope they do it again so I can actually see it on the big screen because I didn't get to.
Yeah.
We were super close after, and then COVID happened, and and Mish lives in LA, and it's like we can't see each other right now, so it's really tough. But
yeah, and we used like after we wrapped, like we would still have like dinners and stuff together. We did Christmas and a bunch of stuff, but now we're in a Patricia, so can't really do that right now.
Is that your pet name for it?
Yeah, Patricia or Panini or Panny, whatever you want to use.
All right, go away.
Trista, did you have a question?
Aside from the musical preparation, how did you guys go about approaching your roles?
Did a lot of work ahead of time. Like we got cast pretty early, and Andrew was really involved in getting us super prepared. Like we created our looks, we chose our tattoos, we did a lot of work ahead of time.
Yeah, and even yeah, we got to pick our hair, our whole looks, head to toe. And I know Jill's costume was a little bit of that was custom made out of like leather belts. The costume designer, she ended up making a mold of my body and making that custom for me out of like leather belts, and found different things. But we were all very involved from the beginning. And it was probably how many months before we even started shooting? Like 8 or 9 months almost, it felt like, from like the first moment of being cast, and then into stunt rehearsals. And then I even did, well, it might be a spoiler. Anyway, I did a lot of research on Jill and her state of body at the time. But yeah, the whole crew,
like we'd go.
Oh, we went to a concert to like experience what like mosh pit life is like, and what like band culture. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the night we met. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were literally the 4 of us headbanging, and Andrew took us to, where did we go in Toronto? It was the
we were in Sneaky D's upstairs. They were throwing a punk rock concert.
Yeah, tequila shots. I mean, headbanging. We all just like, you know.
Oh my gosh!
I was
and Emily.
Oh my gosh!
I think we ended up at Cherry Cola's at a burlesque show as well, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so fun. And I remember like, yeah, we went to dinner, we went to this like lovely Italian restaurant, and then went to the costume. And I just remember looking, and I was like, where's Emily? It's like, and I just met her, and you were like full on elbows throwing in the middle of the mosh pit. And we're like, wow, okay, I want to like her. That's great.
I was so intimidated of the girls, because Michelle walks in, she's like this like doves are behind her, and there's like singing, like so beautiful. And then Chelsea and Kiriana were so bonded. I assumed that they were already dating or already knew each other. They were so connected, and they both looked so terrifying. They had like black lipstick on, and were like so badass. And I was just like, okay, yeah, hi guys. I got so nervous. I wanted them to like me so badly, and I was so intimidated by them all. And now they're all just derps. They're all beans.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me personally, like aside from all of this, like one of the things that I do a lot as an actor and everything that I work on is that I focus a lot on the music. So I build a playlist for pretty much every character that I play, and then I'll just be listening to that like every single day as much as possible to try and really understand where the sound of this person sits in my body and how that affects me, how that affects how I move, how that affects how I talk. And that's become really, really useful for me for pretty much every character I've ever played. And I remember, I think I made a Cassy playlist, and I'm pretty sure I shared it with all of the girls.
Yeah.
And at one point we ended up like playing it in the makeup trailer on set. So I just had all this like 90s queer feminist punk rock. And I was just like, yeah, this is the vibe. Like this is like L7, stuff like that. Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, like all of those vibes that are just very much fitting what Miss 45 was fighting for in the story. And yeah, that's something I still do to this day, because I think music is incredibly powerful, and that's what we tried to capture a lot in this film, right? Is that how much the music speaks. It changes the people that play it, and it changes the people that listen to it in very different ways. And I hope we captured that accurately.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the movie itself when you see it all finished and edited together?
I loved it. Quite honestly, I was shocked that I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, because like jumping into it, and I was like, Andy, we're doing what for how much money? Like budget wise, I was like, okay, you're gonna build this stadium and do all these special effects on this Canadian budget, like, okay. And I really, really, really enjoyed it, and it's so paid off. And like we really put our blood, sweat, and tears very literally into this movie, and I was so pleasantly surprised by the blood gags and the stunts and the acting. And yeah, from A to Z, like everybody really pulled out all the stops, and I didn't think I was gonna like it, and I really surprisingly did. So yeah.
And I think that's what happens when you have a group of actors. I know we saw each other yesterday or the day before, some of us, and I'd mentioned this, but like when actors show up committed, it's everything. Because I've been on projects where like someone doesn't care, and I care. I really want to tell stories and connect. I think that's the whole thing. That's why we're doing it. That's why we're sacrificing all these things and just like being there and doing everything we can. So out of any movie I've ever done to this day, this was the movie with the most committed cast that I've ever worked with, hands down. End of story. So thank you guys for, showing up each day and just like fucking going for it, like whatever it was. And for me, like I'm not a big preparer, I lean on the side of spontaneity. So I remember Emily and I, it was kind of hilarious because Emily, she's taking notes probably as we're speaking now, like color coordinated Post-its. And so when she showed up, her binder was filled. She's like, okay, so Michelle, on this scene, when we're doing this part, and I was like, whoa, hold on. I'm like, what scene? She's like, you don't know what scene? I'm like, sorry, where does that land before which other one? And she's like, but you're one of the leading characters. And I'm like, I know, hold on. Wait, we'll go over the scene. And it's interesting because for Emily, the best way she can, showcase her work is with her preparation. That gives her freedom. I think, right? Like that gives you your freedom. And for me, it's figuring it out in the moment when it's happening and not knowing what's coming next exactly. Like it kind of gives me a fear of like figuring it out and like forces me to listen, and then I can act spontaneously. But every actor has, a different method. Like Kiriana says she uses her music. Emily uses her, preparation. Me, it's just this like spontaneity that I'll tune into. Chelsea, I'm sure you have yours as well. We all come with something different. So, but that was a funny story. She just looked at me. She's like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "It's okay." And then I think Emily, I remember you saying the first time we had a scene together, you were holding your breath a bit because of my lack of preparation. And then when we did it, you were like, "Oh, thank God, thank God."
I remember that, and I remember the binder.
And you were there, Kiriana, and you were there for the binder. So Emily, what did you think in that moment?
Yeah, well, I just didn't, because like you, I've worked with so many actors who just don't care. And I've had like a lot of bad experiences where they just don't care. They're there for the paycheck and they're not in it and they're not excited about it and they don't know their lines and they're kind of like learning their lines as they go. And you're like, oh, that sucks. It's not fun. And even if they pull out a good performance, it's not fun working with someone who doesn't give a shit. So I was like, oh, great. Here we go. Like another one of those. But then it was like, of course she's still prepared. We work differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was really
it's
fun.
fascinating to see like how everyone kind of has their own thing to bring their best work.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you about Ryan Allen, who plays Driller in the movie. He was great in the movie too. And any stories about him?
He's
That's
the best.
a crazy story, actually. So when Ryan got cast, it was supposed to be another actor, and something happened, and we were scrambling to find a new Driller now.
We were already shooting.
We were in the middle
shooting.
of shooting, and like that character, Driller, was supposed to go like to camera the next day. So we were like, okay, well, does anybody know anybody that could play the Driller? And we were at lunch, and then Michelle, right? You ended up knowing Ryan, and
on another series called Blue Mountain State. And the role called for someone larger than life. And I was like, oh my God, I know the perfect person, Andrew. I'm like, I don't know if he's available tomorrow morning in Sudbury, but like, let's ask him. And sorry, continue, Jill.
Oh yeah. So we asked him, Michelle texted him, and probably within like hours, he was in a car headed to Sudbury, and like he learned his lines in that 5-hour car ride from Toronto to Sudbury. And maybe the next day after that. So I think he landed at like sometime at nighttime. And that morning, which was like our shooting day, was like we started at 5 in the afternoon and then would get home at like 7 o'clock in the morning because we were doing night shoots. He showed up and killed it, literally with like 6 hours notice, and learned all of his scenes. And he was on set for the next however many days, 3 or 4 days, shooting all of those scenes. And I can't imagine anybody else reading that part now. Is really meant to be
so differently than the way he played it. Driller is written so differently, and he is just amazing in it. He was so good, and he's such a great person. He's so cool and so talented and so kind.
He's also a vocalist, and he ended up like, what he does is he teaches metal screamers how to scream without destroying their vocal cords. So I remember he ended up teaching Michelle a bunch of stuff on set as well, because that's what he does, and it happened to be like so perfect timing wise.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Trista, you have another question?
Do you guys want to plug any other upcoming projects?
Oh, actually, so I have a movie coming out in a couple of months. I'm not sure when. It's called The Party Planner. And sometime at the end of the year, if you want to watch my series Slow Pitch on Amazon Prime throughout TV, go check that out. We're going to camera for a second season soon, but if you want to catch up on that first season, please do. Yeah.
I did
That's
another project with Raven Banner, and I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about it, and I'm nervous because Andrew's not here, but I know that it's been released that Slash is producing, and it's starring Alan Hocko and Natalie Brown and myself, and it's gonna be dope, and it's in the horror genre. Rodrigo Godino is directing. Rue Morgue, if you know him, incredible. I hope I'm not in trouble right now.
Yeah, I'm in season 5 of The Expanse, which is on Amazon Prime, so check that out. That's why I still have this, because I keep booking things that are like, oh, we're gonna reshave that. We're gonna reshave that. So nobody's let me grow it out.
It's like your signature thing now.
Basically, yeah. So yeah, he's by The Expanse. And yeah, similar to Emily, I'm not allowed to say things. I can say, shout out to somebody watching this. I'm in early production of a feature film that's actually kind of a similar like queer grunge band vibe, where I'm playing the lead guitarist, and it's like a queer love story. So that's gonna be really exciting whenever that happens. And I'm very much looking forward to bringing back the playlists.
Hey, keep us posted.
Yeah. And as for me, I have actually different genres coming out this year. I had a comedy that came out called Reboot Camp back in, I think it was April that it released. We have Our Spare Parts coming out, well, 2 days ago or 3 days ago, which is a thriller. I did a film called Love in Translation, which is like a feel-good rom-com. And then a Christmas movie that will come out in December. And again, a feel-good, kind of, Christmas vibes. So yeah, that's kind of my forecast.
And one question too is about, you said that you were allowed to pick your tattoos. Did anyone pick a tattoo that either had like a funny backstory to it or something personal to them?
Most of our tattoos were pre-designed, and we just got to pick from like a selection. Yeah. Unfortunately, the original plan was that we were actually going to get to design our own tattoos, and I had talked to a bunch of I have a bunch of friends that are really incredible local musicians, and what I wanted to do was I wanted to take their band logos and turn them into tattoos and then have them on my arm as like a shout out to the Toronto rock scene. Unfortunately, that didn't end up happening because of budget reasons, so we had to pick from a list, but that's what I wanted to do originally. So then we ended up finding meanings, I think, after we had them. Like Chelsea and I, we had matching tattoos or coinciding tattoos a bunch of times that we got to kind of work on together, which was really cool, and have the meaning for ourselves after the fact.
I've always really wanted a giant hip tattoo that is from mid thigh and then on your bum and then all the way up your back. I think that's the coolest thing, but I'm not cool enough to get it in real life. And so they made a couple of those tattoos for me. And there was one scene where we're getting dressed where we thought we might see it, but we never actually did. But I would wear the tattoo even though it was covered by my shorts. So I had a secret one for me that I really loved.
That worked.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I miss being covered in tattoos. As an actor, it's a little hard to do, and I miss just having all the tattoos down the arm.
Mm-hmm.
Any chance I get on any kind of film set, I'm like, give me tattoos, and they're like, cool, yes.
Yeah, because I added the ones on my bicep. I added those ones, and since then there was a rose on my forearm. Since then, I actually got an actual real tattoo put there. Kind of the same idea. It was something that I was thinking of that. It was the classic Americana dagger and the rose. You can see it on one of the posters. I'm behind there. And since then, I chose that because I was actually kind of knocking around an idea in my mind. I already have a bunch of stupid tattoos on my ribs and stuff. All of those were my real tattoos. I think I only added I have 7 real ones. I think I only added 3 fake ones. So we used my real art that I had. And then since then, if you can see that, but this one's for my family and about the duality of life. And I think particularly with Jill, there was a lot of chaos, but a lot of beauty as well. And that's what that tattoo ended up being. And now it's real. Now it's on my body forever because I always have to cover my tattoos for gigs anyway. I just did a Hallmark movie and I had to cover all my tattoos. But makeup is wonderful, so YOLO, whatever.
Is that a long process to cover up the tattoos?
It used to be. I used to do theater for a long time, and I would have to show up like, because I have my ribs on both sides and then like my hands and arms done. So, and I would do my own makeup before, and it would take like, I would have to show up 2.5 hours before everybody on set to do my makeup. There was this one play after the intermission. I'm changing on stage in front of the audience. So I already had to have my makeup set in the beginning of the show. So I had to like do my ribs and do my arms. And it did take about 2 or 3 hours to do every show. But that was like maybe almost 10 years ago. So now like it's a quick spray of color correct and like really full coverage stuff. And it lasts all day. Like makeup technology has just improved so much. That's why I'm not too worried about collecting tattoos these days. I almost lost a couple of jobs like 5-6 years ago, particularly with like commercials, because clients don't want to spend the time. They don't want to do it. But now it's super quick and relatively cheap. Siri, I'm not talking to you. But now it's super quick and relatively simple to just have the artist do it. It took me maybe 20 minutes every day to cover my tattoos on the gig that I recently did. And I have 7 or 8 tattoos. So it's not an issue these days anymore. Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed Spare Parts. I thought I was gonna like it from the trailer, and I really dug it. And so it's on video on demand, DVD, Blu-ray, wherever you get your DVDs and Blu-rays, Amazon, all those places. And if people want to follow any of you, not to your homes or anything, but online, you have,
I would prefer to my home, actually.
that's
Very
very nice.
lonely.
We're
Yeah, on
promoting
Taco
stock
Tuesday,
or
come on.
What was
Oh, you want to go around?
yeah,
Instagram. Well, if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, there's like Facebook and stuff. I don't really check it, but so on Instagram, you can follow me at Chelsea M Head. That's my handle. Follow me there. I'll try to follow you back.
you're good, Emily?
Yeah.
I actually don't really have, so I think I still have Facebook. Like
do
my
too. I feel
grandma.
old on it.
I do have Facebook though, if you want to do there. I don't really post that much, but
I still have a MySpace.
yeah,
Wow.
I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna work on it.
Yeah, Friendster. Kiriana.
Oh, I'm on, I guess, Instagram and Twitter. I mostly use Instagram, just at Kiriana Stanton. Super simple, easy to remember.
Very good. And Michelle.
Yeah, mine's very similar. So at Michelle_Argyris, spelt or said Argyris, not Argyris or Argyris or Argyris. Argyris. Or Argyris, if we want to get specific.
And I'm sure for people watching the film on all of our Instagrams, there's like old behind the scenes shots, like a way back. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see some stuff from behind the scenes of the film.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate all of you being on.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
it's been
having
a good
us.
show.
Thanks for having us.
That was
Thanks
fun.
for having us.
Good to see you all.
Yeah,
My
good to see you
addition
guys. I miss you guys so
your
much.
horror list is
yeah.
American Werewolf in London. That's
American.
Okay, I'm putting it on
Okay.
my list right now. And if anyone wants to like message me on Facebook and tell me awesome requests, I would really appreciate it. That'd be cool. Thank you.
Yeah, slide into them DMs. Tell us some movies that we should watch. Yeah.
All right. Well, it'll be fun to talk to you all again sometime.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
we wish all the
Have a
best.
good one.
Yeah, you too.
Stay safe, stay well, get your vaccines, happy pride and all the things.
All 3 of us.
Yeah, happy Pride.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, true enough.
Good night, everybody.